And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, everyone, to episode 334 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, New York and Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
I am the Brainless one. Very interesting week in wrestling we had this week, Jay.
There were a lot of like little, I would say little kind of big things that happened this week. And I have to say this off the top. Somebody, please, for the love of God, bring Christian his flowers, damn it. Bring Christian his flowers.
I can't argue that. I mean, that was just I you know me, I'm still on my boycott of AEW, but I did watch that, and the line where he says he should have been, there is no God because Ric Flair should have been dead 20 years ago, was just. I created a Marquee Award for him specifically this year.
Hey.
And I am going to, over the weekend, I'm going to post the categories, all 21 of them.
All right.
For the 8th annual Marquee Awards.
Yeah.
But, man, another good one. I mean, really, it was another good promo by Christian Cage.
Hey, not for nothing. A lot of times when Ric Flair comes out, in the last decade and gets eviscerated, it does lead to magic. I mean, heck, it was over a decade ago, I guess, with he and Jay Lethal. But, like, the line that Christian had for Flair, I think, to me, might have been even better than when Samoa Joe was talking about Jeff Hardy in AA. Like, I was just like, ooh. And like, even Flair couldn't hold it in. He knows. Bring Christian his flowers. The man is just on another, like when Roman Reigns was on quote unquote God level, I'm telling you, Christian right now is above that. As far as the dastardliness of his deeds.
Jay, like I said, he's right below the Big Boss Man. The Big Boss Man is the most nefarious wrestler in the history of the business. And Christian Cage, he's not there exactly yet, but he's knocking on his door. He's getting there. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Once him and Edge or Adam Copeland finally go face to face and they have that build up, okay, maybe we'll have that discussion.
Right.
Maybe if he breaks into Edge's house and does the things like, Randy Orton and Triple H.
Christian, no doubt, is going to be like, I know why your father left. It was you. like it's going to be that bad.
Oh, yeah.
But because, no holds barred. The gloves are off. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Brown said, needs to be asked for heel heat right now. Who would you rather have? Christian or Dominic? If you're talking heat on its own, I have to go with Dominic, but Dominic has an advantage of being in front of a bigger crowd. And the crowd it'll be louder just because of the numbers of them out there. But if you're talking somebody who does absolutely dastardly things that can get the crowd riled up, right now, Christian is the better heel, but I think Dominic gets bigger heat. He gets Vicky Guerrero heat, and that sells tickets too.
What Dom is doing, they said it on Monday Night Raw. People were posting it all over social media. They said that Dominic Mysterio got more heat than Logan Paul. I don't think there is maybe more than a handful or two of people on this planet that I despise more than Logan Paul. And Dominic Mysterio gets more heat than him. However, for Christian Cage, he's really going out there and getting that heat. He's saying these things. I mean, like I said, he's a boss man, late 90s level heel. He's only a couple weeks away from dragging somebody's dad's coffin on the back of the car from the Blues Brothers. Dom, though, it's just something about him. It oozes the way that people just don't like him and they don't want him to talk. And it's because of the fact that he's associated with Rhea Ripley, who, by the way, was number one in PWI's top 250 women in wrestling. Well deserving. But I think it goes hand in hand, her getting Dom some of that heat. Because without Mommy, there's not really a Dominic. Right. So I would say, just from like the fact that he could just stand there and get that heat, I got to go with Dom. But if I have to like earning that heat, it's Christian.
Right. I agree.
Good question. I hear the Almighty.
Yes. The Almighty indeed.
The Almighty Hercules.
All right. Beyond that, another big bit of news that came out is at Bound for Glory, we found out that the name TNA Wrestling is coming back starting in 2024. Any thoughts on that?
Why are you going back to the past? This would be like after 20 years, WWE decides to go back to WWF.
I wouldn't mind that, actually.
I wouldn't either, because I'm nostalgic, but
I mean, there's a lot of people that have never known it as
Impact
WWF.
Oh.
TNA it wasn't that long ago. It was 2017 when they were last TNA. And apparently, internally, they still kind of called themselves TNA. And, when the new company came in and bought them, like, all right, let's try to erase the past. The thing is people, I think, realized that the past was not that bad. I think it was more the Dixie brand of the past that had kind of been soured on the wrestling audience. And now there's been some time, and there maybe be a little bit of that nostalgia out there for TNA. You know me, I enjoyed TNA. I went to a couple of their pay-per-views over the years. I enjoyed the heck out of both shows I went to. I think because I don't know if they ever stopped being at least backstage TNA. It sounds like a lot of people internally still just referred to the place as TNA, and they had built that brand up for so long. Going to Impact Wrestling. Well, what's Impact Wrestling? Then they were like Global Force Wrestling for, about as long as somebody holds the TNT title usually. But they're going back to TNA, so hopefully this brings in a little nostalgia and hopefully builds up the company even more than it already has been. But they brought in, Matt Cardona to the show, and they had a couple of surprises on Bound for Glory. And it sounds like overall it was a good show. I didn't check it out, but it sounds like, they put on a pretty good product, and they're going to the United Kingdom soon, and they're actually going to be taping televisions. Like when they were TNA, I remember they would go and sell out shows in the UK and have Impact tapings that looked and sounded so much better than when they were in the Impact Zone. And I remember when Bobby Roode was the heavyweight champion, it was a big freaking deal. It was a big production, and they looked like a big-time wrestling organization when they were there. They're apparently having tapings there fairly soon.
Mhm.
Hopefully, again, this is the beginning of a launching of getting them even higher up than they are.
I guess the best way to put it for me, this is just like when LeBron James was still playing for Cleveland to me 2 years into his career in Miami. Just like he was still playing for Miami 2 years back into his career in Cleveland. I have been calling them TNA since they've been calling themselves Impact because I keep forgetting that they're Impact. So more likely than not, once they go back to TNA in 2024, I'm going to start calling them Impact.
Right.
That's the best way to put it. And I understand going with the switch. I wouldn't want to have whatever was left of the stench that was the Dixie Carter era of TNA. So I would actually want to change my name too. But if I'm not mistaken, and I'm just a kind of novice Impact TNA fan because I know of and who's worked there and that. I know the shows. But if my memory serves me correctly, didn't they just bring back the TNA World Championship recently to also be a part of with the Impact World title? Or am I not remembering correctly?
They definitely had brought back the old school TNA belt. I think that was even part of when Christian Cage had come back to when he went to AEW and he did that stint and was the champion for TNA, or
Yeah.
I should say Impact Wrestling. I think he did bring the old school belt. Again, people are suckers for nostalgia. And, before, it was TNA Wrestling and their show was Impact. So,
Right.
I mean, it kind of was a progression to, okay, it was Impact Wrestling. WWF is in WWE and WWWF. Guess what? Sometimes the name of the brand evolves. Sometimes it evolves into something better.
Right.
And I mean, think of NWA. Like, it went from NWA and then kind of got pulled into World Championship Wrestling and then kind of got lost in the shuffle for how many years before Billy Corgan picked it up? Said, oh, I could own NWA. Let me see what I could do with this name. Oh, let's take it back old school. Let's make it look like when they used to tape in those little,
TV studios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to grab onto those bit of people and somebody that's just searching for something different. But he has built up the NWA brand at least enough,
Right.
to get them a TV deal and see what happens. I think in general, the professional wrestling industry is about as healthy as it's been since the demise of WCW. Quite literally, WWE Survivor Series, with no matches announced, has sold out the arena so much so that they had to open up extra seats. Now, I don't know if that's part of people thinking maybe CM Punk showing up and we're in Chicago, but I'd say in general, even if CM Punk wasn't showing up, they've been selling out places all over the place for premium live events, even for Monday Night Raw, even for SmackDown. Oh, by the way, so much so that we're now having, looks like 2 premium live events more outside of the United States in 2024. They're going to have one definitely in Germany, and it sounds like we're going to get possibly Backlash in Paris.
Ooh. And that's going with the fact that they're going to be in Australia for Elimination Chamber. And everybody else's favorite show, Saudis, the Saudi show, the Blood Money show.
Yeah, they get 2 of those a year.
Yeah. And I think it's great. I love the fact that they are doing this where they're going outside of the country to do these pay-per-views. I am on board with them doing a pay-per-view at 1 o'clock on a Saturday. I have no issue with that whatsoever.
And those crowds are insane. They need to keep Walter with that Intercontinental Championship and do what they did at SummerSlam 92 and have that main event, that show in Berlin, Germany. I know Walter is Austrian, but there would be a lot, like he built a lot of his career in Germany. There will be a lot of people cheering for Walter. I'm sorry, Gunther.
Gunther. If what I'm hearing is true,
Germany.
poor Walter.
And by the way, he just passed 500 days as Intercontinental Champion.
Yes, he
and
did.
This premium live event they're talking about is going to take place in August. So you're talking like 9-10 months away. I don't know if they're talking like SummerSlam or if they're trying to do something that's going to be at the end of the month. Because I know SummerSlam they've been trying to do earlier in August or at the end of July the last couple of years, and then have another thing at the end of the month.
Jay, if they're going to do that at the end of the summer, he's not going into Berlin, Germany as Intercontinental Champion. I'm sorry. He's lasted 500 days. He's got nothing else left to do. They're not going to have a second championship get tied up to a wrestler for a half a bajillion years because Roman Reigns doesn't want to drop the title. He's got a better chance of losing the wettest hair of the year award than he does of dropping the World Heavyweight Universal Champion of the world.
So you're already putting your prediction in for blood money.
Gunther, I'm going to get into that in a second. Gunther is walking into Berlin, Germany as the World Heavyweight Champion, the championship that Seth Rollins has. Whether he takes it from Seth Rollins or not, I don't know. He's going to win it at WrestleMania, and he's going into Battle in Berlin?
Something like that.
As World Heavyweight Champion. I can almost guarantee that. I'm not against, your idea of having it, them replicating from SummerSlam 92. I think that's just underselling Gunther because he's going to be World Heavyweight Champion. Hell, he could still be Intercontinental Champion too. Oh,
he can be both. He can be both.
Let him. Hey, there you go. Let him do Bret Hart WrestleMania 10, where he has to wrestle 2 matches in one night.
And he'll be the first person ever to get 2 5-star plus ratings in the same night.
Well, just imagine if it was at the Tokyo Dome.
You know what? Have him lose to Chad Gable on the first match of the card and then win the title at the end of the card. They've done that before.
That was WrestleMania 10.
So.
And by the way, that was the greatest opening match in a WrestleMania history. Bret and Owen at WrestleMania 10. I'm sorry, that was fantastic.
Yeah. All right, while we were on Impact, Mike Rainey asked, Heath Slater's contract with the company is coming up soon. Do you see him going back to WWE, or does he go to Redacted if he does not sign a new contract with TNA?
He's not going to AEW. I just don't see. He's not a fit there. He's going to go back to WWE, Cousin Jay, and he's going to go back there for one reason and one reason only. He's got kids.
For the time being, all 3MB would be in the company, although Drew McIntyre has not been offered a new contract as of this show.
I heard that is an Endeavor thing. Endeavor does the contracts a little bit differently than how WWE does it, and that's how they're going to do the contracts going forward. Because apparently he's not the only one that hasn't been approached with a new contract yet, and there's a significant amount of people that have contracts expiring in 2024.
I think The Miz is one of them.
I know Seth Rollins is one of them.
Seth Franklin Rollins,
the World Heavyweight Champion. He's going to end up signing. They're gonna have him, and they're gonna have the Jinder, and they're gonna sign Heath Slater, and we are gonna get what I've been wanting: a freaking 3MB reunion. They're a 3-man band.
There was nothing like watching Jinder in the turban, like rocking out, playing air guitar. There's nothing like Jinder Mahal showing up in wrestling tights on the golf course. There's nothing like a Punjabi prison match. All these things, Jinder has been a great part of, and I would love to see 3MB get back together. I'm going to say, unless Heath Slater is thinking he's close to the end of the road and is looking for, okay, I'll kind of do a short run before I become a coach. Like, I think he stays with TNA. That's what I think. Unless he has this great relationship with Triple H, and he believes that like he will be treated fairly and respectfully, but with the idea that WWE is trying to get younger, Heath Slater is not part of getting younger. So I'm going to say Heath Slater stays in TNA.
Well, here's the thing, Jay, because I heard that the new thing that WWE is going to try to do is no longer use enhancement talent. And they're going to have to have, lower card guys to start losing, kind of like how Kurt Hawkins was a bajillion years ago when he came back, where he lost every match.
Right.
Heath Slater, hey, to catch a nice paycheck, you're going to go out there and you're going to make these young kids look good for about 7 minutes, aren't you, Heath Slater?
Right.
I got kids.
Every
once in a while, he'll get his moment. I mean, look at him and Rhino won the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Nobody thought him and Rhino.
One of the greatest come out of left field things that happened.
SmackDown 2016 was my favorite year of SmackDown ever.
The summer of Slater.
It was even just the summer of Slater. It was the three between Ambrose and The Miz and Dolph Ziggler feuding for the Intercontinental Championship. That was the last time before Gunther did what he did for the Intercontinental title, where that title actually meant something. But that was peak.
Was that after The Miz had his flip out on Smack Talk?
I think so, because I want to say the Smack Talk was very early on in the, I don't know, it might have been around the same time. I could be wrong. But it was...
All I know is that around then, Dolph and Miz got our feud, or at least had my feud of the year. For what they did with the Intercontinental title that year.
Yeah. It was such good shit, pal.
It was.
Damn it. I knew I should have worn the Vince McMahon shirt. No, I said I was going to wear it for Danhausen because it's Danhausen. It is very nice. Very nice, very evil. I haven't worn it in a while. I want to switch things up.
Well, hopefully we get to see him soon because they've been teasing it. Quite honestly, I think it would make an awful lot of sense for the Danhausen to show up on Dynamite.
He needs to curse John Moxley.
It's so close to Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
Even if he is not medically cleared at this point to be in the ring, it sounds like he's close enough to being healthy to at least appear.
Right.
And however many weeks away he is. So, yeah.
I will say this, because I do follow him on every bit of social media because I enjoyed the Danhausen. He has been showing up at these places with no sling. He's been doing the cursing pose that he always does for the pictures. I really do I don't think he's, like you said, I don't think he's ready to get back into the ring quite yet, but he could definitely still make an appearance.
Right.
And if they actually moved if they actually moved Dynamite to Tuesday on Halloween and had the Danhausen come out, I would actually watch AEW Dynamite.
Okay.
But
I'm
asking
you're
them
not
for
watching Collision this week. I know that.
Why? What's happening on Collision?
There is a certain person who has had a match against a minor Chinese girl and a blow-up doll. Having a match against MJF for the title.
Is that coming up this Saturday?
Yes. And right now, I'm a bigger buzzkill than Buzz Killington. Who's here likes a good story about the bridge?
Cousin Jay, are you telling me right now that the show that they made for CM Punk to make him happy because this is what the CW wanted. On the show that they did for CM Punk to keep him away from Twinkle Toes in the two biggest embarrassments in the history of tag team wrestling, keeping them happy. They couldn't have it. They had to have everything. They couldn't just have it a little bit. So now we're getting Twinkle Toes fighting for the world title on Collision, the show for CM Punk.
Yes.
Are they trying to get me to never watch another show for them again? Because I know that he is inching closer to Kenny's mark. Oh, I am well aware of that. I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility that Nose Candy Khan would end that reign to Kenny on Saturday because Kenny told him to.
One thing that was talked about this week and officially announced, AEW has a pay-per-view happening December 30th in Nassau Coliseum. So it's very likely that they can keep the title on Maxwell Jacob Friedman until December 30th. So that at least gives them some plausible deniability of, like, you know, Twinkle Toes winning this match on tomorrow. So Tony Khan has his out in case he cannot re-sign MJF. Hey, Tim. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe, everybody. Yeah.
When did they announce that they were having this show in Nassau?
It was maybe Wednesday.
Okay. I want to know how many AEW fans' heads exploded when they made that announcement. Because a lot of them have been going on saying, oh, well, you know, he's already re-signed. No, he hasn't. MJF is a smart businessman, and he knows that he is going to be the hottest commodity that has hit free agency since what? Ric Flair in 1992?
Woo!
And we're going to get into that, too.
Like 8 years.
Yeah, CM Punk in the last 8 years. MJF might be the biggest free agent. I'm starting to believe him. He might be the biggest free agent to hit the market in professional wrestling ever. We are talking about if we're experiencing this for baseball because Shohei Ohtani is going to be a free agent. The best player in Major League Baseball is a free agent this offseason, and honestly the top young upcoming prospect, the total package guy, is also going to be a free agent. And his last day could be as champion at the end of December in Nassau, losing in his hometown. I want to know who's under the mask. That's all I want to know. I want to know nothing else about AEW except for when Danhausen returns. I want to know who's under the mask. Because if it's Jungle Jack Jerkoff under that fucking mask, I will never watch AEW again. Ever. I'm sorry, Danhausen.
I think you already stated that, but
until the Bucks are gone.
Okay.
Or they're out of. They have to be either out of power or gone. And I will go back to AEW.
Well, I mean that's about 5 years down the line, I think. Sad. Tim says he hopes MJF blows a kiss as he walks out the door. If MJF did walk out the door and he did sign with WWE and he made his first appearance at the Royal Rumble in Florida, Who would you want him to feud with first?
The Miz.
Asshole on asshole. I like it.
And honest to goodness, I hate to say it, Miz is the perfect person to feud with when you're a new incoming wrestler. The Miz is perfect. The Miz is phenomenal on the mic. He is, other than that one little botch he had with R-Truth many years ago, the Miz is one of the safest wrestlers in the business.
I wouldn't even call that damn thing a botch. That was being chicken shit.
Yeah.
All that being said, Miz has certainly done himself well beyond that.
Because the Miz is the type of person that even though he is where he is on the card, he's going to elevate whoever he's working with. And if you really want to, or you have them work together. If he's not feuding with the Miz, I think you should be working with the Miz. Could you imagine the Miz and MJF
versus DIY?
I mean, I guess DIY. But I think the Miz honestly would be the perfect person to feud with MJF when he first gets in. MJF's going to want to have a pretty decent match at WrestleMania though if he's going to come in. He's going to have some demands. I could sense it. He's not going to come in there if he's going to be working against like Dexter Lumis. No offense to Dexter Lumis.
Mike Rainey saying MJF hasn't really brought up the bidding war of 2024 in some time, which is leaving me to believe he's not going anywhere.
He's a face.
I could be wrong on that, but I still say he's not going anywhere. Now, I think part of that, MJF is now a face. When he was a heel, it made more sense for him to be a dick and sounding like, hey, yep, I'm going to the highest bidder, X, Y, and Z. Right now, I'm going to go with like MJF staying and leaving. I'm going to go like 60-40. 60% that he stays in AEW, 40% he goes to WWE. Because guess what? Right now, he is the big fish in the pond that he is swimming in. The fact that they built AEW, the brand, and he is their champion, and they had a show where he was the main event, and there was a stadium full of people watching him main event that show. There's something about that may want you to say, like, you know what? I helped build this brand. I'm going to keep going with building this brand. Is he like Ric Flair? Flair went to WWF, won the title, and was gone within like a year and a half.
Yep.
Flair kept the NWA going into its world-class championship wrestling phase.
Yep.
And was like, all right, well, hey, I'm going to go over here. Oh, by the way, it wasn't fair to me. It was not fair to Flair. I won the world championship. They wanted to send me lower on the card, so I decided it was time for me to go back to where I came from. I don't think MJF, like, if he wants to continue building AEW, he's so much younger than Flair was when Flair went to WWE in '92. I mean, again, it feels to me like, hey, he could build his own wrestling legacy. And if he signs another contract with AEW, he's still going to be like about 30 years old by the time, even if he signed a 5-year deal for the next deal he has, he's going to still be on the young end of 30 when that expires. So he would still have time to be a WWE superstar and to have a WrestleMania moment appearance. And if he has that high of a belief in himself to continue to not only build professional wrestling, but build AEW as an alternative. But again, 60-40 to me at this moment.
Hold on. I'm going to disagree with you just slightly, and I'm going to play it on the fence. I'm saying it's 50-50. But if I had to say, gun to my head who I think he's going to end up signing with, it's WWE. And I'm going to tell you why. I know I mentioned this before on the podcast. If not, I apologize. But MJF, the only reason he was on All In, the first ever show when they did the 10,000 people in Chicago, the only reason he was on that show was because he messaged Cody Rhodes, and he harassed Cody Rhodes until finally Cody let him wrestle on the show. It wasn't Kenny and the Bucks. It was Cody. MJF is close to Cody. MJF sees how they're booking Cody. You're looking for somebody for MJF to feud with at first when he first gets there? What about Cody Rhodes? They're looking for a reason for Roman Reigns to continue on as champion because for whatever reason now I'm convinced they are going to try to break the record.
Bruno San Martino.
At least the short
Hogan.
They might even go all the way to 2028. I don't know what I would do if I had to wait another 5 years for that title to change because I wouldn't care. I stopped caring about the title now anyway. But if MJF debuted at WrestleMania 40 and cost Cody Rhodes the title, writes itself.
That's pretty good.
Speaking of the championships and not changing hands, I thought about this before the podcast, and I have to ask you, I want your honest opinion. What logic tells you as a wrestling fan of 30 plus years, Cousin Jay.
Yeah.
Next week in Saudi Arabia,
yes,
Roman Reigns defends the Universal Championship against L.A. Knight. Yeah. What is your thought if WWE actually pulls the trigger and has LA Knight win the title?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good booking decision? Or do you think it's a good booking decision?
No. At this point in Roman's reign, he really needs to lose it at WrestleMania. He needs to lose it at WrestleMania. Anything else, to me, would feel unsatisfactory. It needs to be like an incredible storyline that culminates at the biggest show of them all. At this point in wrestling history, you don't have, for so many years, we got used to having these 3-month title reigns, 2-month title reigns, 2-week title reigns, 2-day title reigns. That when you do a championship reign like right now, it would feel like you're being cheated by pulling the trigger at anything that is not WrestleMania. Unless the blood money runs that deep and the Saudi prince says he wants to see a change of the title. And the company bows to those wishes. Unless that is a thing, and I don't think it is, because I mean they've been okay with them not resuscitating Yokozuna and other dead wrestlers, Mitchell Friedman.
The Texas Tornado? Come on, man.
It would feel like a bad booking decision to me to take off the title from Roman on anything but WrestleMania, even though it is LA Knight. But that's not stopping them from getting LA Knight over even further. There are ways that they could book this match where LA Knight could still do better than what happened to the Ryback, where Ryback was over as all hell, but they had already had the plan for CM Punk going against The Rock, and they weren't going to screw with that. Clearly, WWE made the right decision because the Ryback is nuts.
That is an understatement, although he is still my favorite wrestler when it comes to wrestling people in squash matches after King Kong Bundy. I agree with you, Cousin Jay. I really do. I think that at the end of the day, if LA Knight wins the title, I'm going to be thrilled for LA Knight because that is an incredible talk about a complete 180 from where you were about a year ago. You went from being titillating the senses to ending Roman Reigns' reign and solidifying yourself as WWE or as a marquee award for Wrestler of the Year with this victory next week. Booking wise, you just can't do it. You just can't. As much as I would lose my mind, and I'm going to do something crazy if he actually wins the championship. I got a week to come up with something before the podcast next week of what crazy human trick I'm going to do if LA Knight actually ends Roman's reign. See what I did there? You can't do it. The only person on planet Earth that could take the championship off of Roman Reigns between now and WrestleMania, if you're going to do it, is Randy Orton. I'm sorry. It's Randy Orton. Because that is the championship that needs to finish. That's the story that needs to be finished, has to be on that championship. And it's got to be Cody Rhodes that finishes the story.
And finish the story against Randy.
And they can finish it against Randy if you're not going to do it against Roman.
Chris Brown chiming in saying, if LA Knight wins, to me, that's a sign that Dwayne versus Roman match is going forward and doesn't need a title to be involved. I would tend to agree with that logic.
That's why I'm hoping that he does lose the championship before WrestleMania because I want to see Dwayne versus Roman. And I want to have the doubt, like, oh my God, Roman could actually lose this match.
Right.
I don't want to go in there because you and I have talked about it for years on this podcast. We don't like predictability.
Right.
If Roman's fighting The Rock and the title is on the line, we already know that Roman is going to win or he's definitely going to walk out with the championship.
Right.
No title on the line. Anything, as KJ once said to Hondo, anything is possible.
Anything is possible. The only thing that's not possible is The Rock beating Roman Reigns for wettest hair for the Marquee Awards.
No, that is physically impossible. Although Seth Rollins has been harassing me saying that he deserves some recognition for wettest hair, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Damn Franklin.
Yeah.
Where my pen? Oh, there it is. I was thinking about that because there was a wrestling legend. I forget who it was. I didn't even click on the article because I'm so afraid to click on articles now.
Let's say wrestling legend because you think it's Vince Russo, right?
Correct. So I get paranoid whenever I see anything with WWE or WCW legend in that because I think it's him. So I have no idea who wrote it, but they said that it would be a disappointment if LA Knight beat Roman for the title because it would just be a disappointing way for Roman to lose the title. LA Knight is in the situation, if they do it right, that he doesn't need to win the championships to still keep his spot where he is and not lose the momentum. If he hangs with Roman Reigns and Roman beats him at the end, or Roman needs the bloodline to help him out to get the victory, or or LA Knight wins by disqualification, or LA Knight wins by a count out, you got it. But if Roman squashes him, you've ruined everything. I don't want to see that.
Triple H would not do that. Vince McMahon might. And right. Not that every build to the top has been thwarted by a squash match. As we all know, the real beginning of the ascent of Daniel Bryan happened at a squash match at WrestleMania.
To this day, I have not jumped out of a chair higher in my life.
Literally and figuratively.
Correct. I still can't believe he won that match in 18 seconds. that also, honest to goodness, that also led to the ascent of Sheamus to where he is now on my power rankings as my favorite wrestler right at this very moment.
Okay.
Although Gunther is really climbing up that ladder. And
all right, Tim saying outside the box. How about Cena's heel turn on LA Knight?
In regards to Cena, because I heard he's going to be fighting solo in Saudi Arabia on Saturday. I just hope he does better in that match with Solo, and I think he will, than he did against Austin Theory at WrestleMania, because that was the first Marquee Award winner of the year was Cena and Austin Theory at WrestleMania 39. They won worst match of the year. He has looked great. It was kind of like how Nakamura and Styles, when they had their rivalry where they had the match at WrestleMania. And the WrestleMania match was decent, but it wasn't what we expected. And the further along they've gotten with that rivalry, like every time they had a match, it was better than the last one. That is what's happened with Cena. He looked like absolute drizzle shits at WrestleMania against Theory, and he has progressively gotten better in the ring. And I think it's because of the fact that they have the strike going on, and he has no idea when he's going to go back to Hollywood. Screw it. I'm getting paid. I'm not taking any major bumps. Right. I don't have to run into the phone booth and throw on my cape and pretend to be Super Cena.
I'm Peacemaker. Oh, wait.
It's no longer roses are red, violets are blue. No matter how many finishers you hit me, I'm still kicking out at 2.
Cena is going me on the floor. Give me some more.
Unless you're the Nexus.
Tim, pardon the expression. I don't see it.
I don't see it happening. He's going to lose to Solo.
I don't know about that.
You think the Saudi prince is going to want John Cena to go? Okay, never mind. No.
I think there's a possibility that Vince McMahon would be beheaded if John Cena loses. If he doesn't jump on his private jet before they finish the show.
Wait. What if the Saudis were able to convince WWE to bring in Hulk Hogan for one more match, and they put the Hulkster one-on-one with John Cena? How would the Saudi prince book the finish of that match?
I mean, all these years later, after 57 back surgeries that were caused from his WrestleMania 3 match, where all his tendons got busted from an 897-pound Andre the Giant, who died a mere few years after the match. Right around the time when he main evented in Wembley and, wrote an album in tribute to a kid that passed away who had a certain smell, perhaps the smell of death, that topped the charts. I mean, and I mean, he had to stop the Metallica tour so he could have the match. But
don't forget,
even
Don't forget though, of the 93,173 people who were in attendance at the Pontiac Silverdome when Hulk Hogan Superdome when Hulk Hogan body slammed the 9 million pound Andre the Giant and instantly killed him.
Yes.
Don't forget that John Belushi and Elvis were both sitting ringside with Liberace.
That's true.
Wow. And it was when he was slamming said Giant that the people for the Foreman Grill were calling him and saying, "Hey, Hulk, you want to be the spokesman?" "No, brother, I can't fit it into my 400 days this year. Maybe we could talk next year." But seriously, Hulk Hogan versus
our Hogan truths better than his, I think.
I do too. But on all seriousness, though, Cousin Jay, Hulk Hogan versus John Cena, who wins the match?
Hulk Hogan.
Thought so. I can't argue that.
I think even for for as much money as they'd put down, he'd probably do the leg drop again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They probably have so much money that they could fix his whole body. And have you ever seen the movie Stargate? I think it'd be like that, where they could repair his whole body and he could live forever. So when he's been saying all these years that Hulkamania is going to live forever, maybe this whole time he's had a deal. He's had a deal with Saudi Arabia to keep him alive forever. Like Bobby Fish, he said, "Hey, brother, what'd you do to Bobby Fish?" Bobby Fish, who is certainly, he's got to deal with the Saudis. Like he had that boxing match as part of his thing with them. We certainly have talked about his wrestling background. The fact that the only person to ever beat our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, was Bobby Fish. I didn't even realize until this week Bobby Fish was in the Illinois Volunteer Militia. Never knew that.
I didn't either.
But I posted it on our page, so if you are not, if you have not followed us on our Facebook page, you would not have this very important information about Bobby Fish. I mean, and this was, between the time of when, he started hanging out with the Earp brother, and when Abraham Lincoln was wrestling. Chris Brown, you talk about the pacemaker. That was another one of those golden lines from Christian Cage this week where he talked about super kicking the pacemaker out of Ric Flair.
Jay, why was Ric Flair on
it? Was so good.
Why was Ric Flair on why was he there? That's how desperate you are, Tony Khan? I'm sorry, Nose Candy Khan? You had to bring in Ric Flair? All 137 years old of Ric Flair? The only wrestler on planet Earth who's been wrestling longer than Bobby Fish, Ric Flair. Why? Is this their way of getting back at WWE? Well, we'll screw you. We're gonna bring in Ric Flair. Like, really? Like, who's left? Who's left that they could bring in? Who else is out there that's whoring himself? I know Ted DiBiase's got some. Yeah, there you go. You got Goldberg.
Because I world affairs as they are right now, Goldberg is not having his retirement match in the middle of Jerusalem at this moment.
No.
Now, getting back to the serious note of all of this,
is the
Bobby
fact that
Fish defeated Abraham Lincoln, probably like 170 years ago in a match. while after getting out of the Illinois Volunteer Militia, and then ended up somehow, some way attached with the Earp brothers. Went to Tombstone and actually taught Doc Holliday all he knows. So when you're talking about the fastest draw in the West, it wasn't Doc Holliday, it was Bobby Fish.
And don't forget that Bobby Fish was the first person to exit the Mayflower when it landed in Plymouth.
Yes. And he said, you know what? Plymouth Rock.
Oh, look, it's me. It's Fish.
Luigi Primo.
I'm glad you said that. That's such good shit. But seriously, Jay, why was Ric Flair Tony Khan's surprise present for Sting? Why? Why was it Ric Flair? Why was he there? And I have a follow-up question.
I know that Sting realizes that he owes his career and the life that he's had in many parts to Ric Flair and his black liver and the fact that Ric Flair should have been dead 20 years ago. But according to Christian Cage, it's proof that there is no God.
Oh man, between that and go fuck yourself, Christian Cage is going to win greatest heel.
Going away. I don't think anybody's even close to him.
No.
Again, if Roman Reigns was in God mode like a year and a half ago, as he said it, I think Christian has passed him. He may not have the same level of prestigious title that Roman has.
Right.
Christian Cage is operating at a different level, and the fact that he's 50 years old makes it even more freaking impressive. This run right now from Christian, again, I know his name and his notoriety is not that of Hulk Hogan. It's better than when the Hulkster returned to WWE in 2002.
Agreed. I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it. And Christian Cage has done more for a championship that he didn't win than anybody else who held the title. He is the greatest TNT champion that the Dino Man won. That is all I'm going to say on that.
And the Dino Man is still a minion of him.
Yes. And honestly, the only person who technically right now in wrestling that could be considered as dastardly heelish as Christian is Braun Breaker because of the fact of what he did to Von Wagner with the stairs. But honest to goodness, I didn't see anything so nefarious about what he did to Von Wagner with those stairs. So I don't know where people are coming from. I have no issue with it.
Do you believe we're going to get another stairs match out of this?
I hope not. I really hope not.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah?
The only stairs match I want to see is between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar.
Hold that thought. That's all I'm going to say to you is hold that thought. Oh, I don't have a clicking pen. Good job.
You know what? You know what thought I want to get to? You know, we've talked about premium live events for WWE. I enjoy the heck out of the fact that Grayson Waller is willing and able to kind of go after anybody in anything. I want to see him versus Travis Kelce with Taylor Swift up in the private box, and they keep on showing her on the camera because I want to see Swifties at a wrestling event because I think they would be so out of place and they so would not know what to do with themselves. And they would be somewhat, I think they would end up so enamored with the product. Be like, what is this? What is this thing that's going on, much like they are right now with football, they would be at a different level of what the hell is going on. But they would tune in nonetheless to see Taylor Swift watching her boyfriend, Travis Kelce, beat up Grayson Waller at WrestleMania. What do you think about this? Do you think is there a snowball's chance in Saudi Arabia that we get to see Travis Kelce at WrestleMania?
No.
Do you think if the Chiefs won the Super Bowl this year, I know at the end of last year when they won the Super Bowl, Travis Kelce was going, we'll see. If they win another Super Bowl, do you think he retires and decides like, well, what the hell?
No. They're going to win the Super Bowl this year. I hate to break it to everybody. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl again this year. And it's only because of the fact that Taylor Swift is going. She turned down a chance to do the halftime show at the Super Bowl, and she's still going to be there. It's because I forget who is doing the halftime show this year.
They announced it.
Because whoever
it's a big time act. I forget who it is.
Because whoever it is not going to be as big of a name as Taylor Swift if she's at the Super Bowl. And if Kansas City goes to the Super Bowl, she's going to be there playing patty cake with Patrick Mahomes' brother and Brittany Mahomes.
Tim has a great idea.
Let's hear it.
Although I'm going to make a slight alteration where I think it would be a better idea. He says Kelce and Kittle can be a tag team. I am definitely not against that.
I wouldn't. I was actually going to.
But. Where is WrestleMania this year?
Philadelphia.
They would be missing a grand opportunity to have the Kelce brothers as a tag team. I'm just saying. But Tim is saying that he wants to see Theory and Grayson Waller, the two biggest douches on the wrestling roster of WWE, go against Kelce and Kittle.
If they're going to do it,
I'm not against that at all.
I would love to see Kittle, and even if Kittle just gets involved in some way, shape, or form, that'll be the only time he ever gets cheered in Philadelphia. And even then, I'm still convinced they're going to boo him. But I would rather see Pat McAfee, but McAfee and Kelce are not going to work together. Because I know that McAfee is really close to Rodgers, and Rodgers and Kelce don't like each other.
Okay.
But, I mean, I would love to see it. I really would. I would love to see it.
I just want to see the Swifties trying to understand professional wrestling.
By the way, I did a complete 180 on Grayson Waller. The fact that he went after Swifties put him at least third in nefarious people of 2020. He'll get consideration. But it's going to be hard for me because now I consider him a face for going after the Swifties.
When he called Taylor Swift the six. And he's like, why is he going after a six? And then when he called all the Swifties twos, it's like you're all just a bunch of twos who are cheering for a six.
Somebody responded, why is this ugly man making fun of Taylor Swift? Oh, I love it when worlds collide. It's just fantastic. That is top-notch heel shit right there, Grayson Waller. You are definitely better than Austin Theory at it. But that's why it would work if they did it with McAfee and Kelce. If they could find a way to get those two to coexist, you could do it that way because McAfee does have experience wrestling Austin Theory, even at WrestleMania. So,
breaking news from Chris Brown. Aaron Rodgers is a piece of shit.
Aaron Rodgers is the last person to help me win a fantasy football league championship. So Aaron Rodgers is not a piece of shit to the Brainless one.
Okay.
Just like Brett Favre is a piece of shit, but he also helped the Brainless one who just dropped his pen and can't find it.
Oh, by the way, I do want to make sure that I let everybody know that the actual official name, the Grace Waller came
Swifties.
up with Swifties for her fans are Swamp Donkey fans. Swamp Donkey.
Oh, that is
Pretty
exceptional.
good. Pretty good.
And since we're on the subject of premium live events for WWE, I have a couple of not really announcements, but a couple of newsworthy bits here in regards to premium live events. It looks like WWE for SummerSlam next year, they want to do it in Cleveland. Land. I think that's a hell of a call. Because at least half your roster is going to be over.
Right. Gargano. Miz.
Vic Joseph.
Yeah.
Dolph Oh.
Oh. Rip.
Dana
Oh, rip.
I don't miss her.
And is it one of the Viking Raiders is from that area?
Yes.
I know there's a couple other ones.
Eric.
All right.
The bald, bearded.
The one who's injured right now?
The one that's injured and married to Sarah Logan.
On a somewhat related note, though, WWE executives and higher-ups are actually extremely happy with the storyline and matches that Kofi Kingston and Ivar have had. You know, Kofi's one of those dudes who could really make anybody look good in the ring. All that being said, Ivar is an outstanding performer. We just haven't had a big opportunity to see him as a singles competitor. But I think he's just kind of showcasing what we already knew, that he is a really good performer in the ring, can tell a story, and he just looks a little bit different than what you're used to seeing. He's a bit of a throwback.
Everybody like me has a friend that looks like Ivar.
Yes. Wait.
Whether he's, wearing a cowboy shirt and drinking beer, or if you're in a cookout in Terryville and the guy who's calling him the chef has a sword on the side of his pocket.
I mean, there's that, and sometimes we have uncles that look like that.
Oh God! But I think it's great. Do you know how the story of him and Eric became a tag team when they became the War Machine?
No, did they happen to go to a family reunion where somebody cooked some really good wings?
No, apparently they wrestled against each other so many times that they came up to each other. One of them went up to the other one and said, "Hey, I'm tired of getting my ass kicked by you. You want to be a tag team?" Cheese and crackers. Nice. Does that sound like my way of getting out of doing a rivalry and getting a tag team partner?
It does.
I was always fascinated about it. I'm like, yeah, I would do the same thing. If I was tired of getting my ass kicked by the same person, I'd want to be his tag team partner too.
All right, Chris Brown. Ushers is doing the halftime show next year.
Yeah.
Why didn't we remember that? Because, I mean, he really does. If LA Knight were to have a song that was from a mainstream performer, it would be Usher. I mean, there are Metallica songs that say yeah a lot. There are White Zombie songs that say yeah a lot. There are Alice in Chains songs that say yeah a lot.
Little
but
John.
Nothing compares with Usher.
Little John.
And actually, if you haven't already seen it, you could either go to our Facebook page or our YouTube page, where the Brainless one, myself, Ethan Marks Hall of Famer El Jefe, and LA Knight sing Yeah from Usher. Yeah?
Yeah. That's a shame because I really thought it was going to be Drake that was doing the halftime show, so I could have made the joke that Taylor Swift is definitely a bigger star than Drake ever will be.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Drake. I think he's the most overrated performer in the history of music.
Okay.
And he's a jinx. He's more of a jinx than I am at the track.
How many people has he killed? Has he killed any people or animals?
No, but he is solely responsible. He is solely responsible for teams losing championships because he shows up with their jersey on like the day of the title game, and then they lose.
But didn't the Raptors win?
They were the
Raptors
only ones.
won the title, and he's like a big fan of them.
Yes, but he showed up at like Kentucky wearing a Kentucky jersey, and they lost the national title. I think it was the one they lost to UConn. Drake actually helped UConn win one, so I mean, I'll give him that.
Thank you, Drake.
I still think that he is the most overrated performer in all of music.
Okay.
But I take it back. I no longer want Kansas City to win the Super Bowl. I need Jacksonville to win the Super Bowl. So that WWE actually has to make a WWE championship for the Jacksonville Jaguars and hand it to Tony Khan.
You know that was part of my booking for last year when we weren't sure who WWE was going to be sold to. Yep. I wanted to find out that Nick Khan was in cahoots with Shad and Tony Khan. And after that amazing comeback victory that Jacksonville had in the playoffs, I was even more convinced that the fix was in, that the Khans were going to buy the company. And it was going to be like when Vince McMahon exposed himself as the head of the ministry.
It was me,
the higher
Austin.
Power.
I was me all the whole time. Yeah. I still want the Jaguars to win the Super Bowl just strictly for the fact that they get a WWE championship with the Jaguars logo on the side plates.
Okay. All right. So another thing that's officially been announced, Montez Ford and Bianca Belair, they were talking about how they were doing a reality show, and they had very sparse details, but it actually has finally come out. This new show that they're doing is about the NIL, the next in line to be WWE superstars.
Good for them.
Quite honestly, it sounds an awful lot like Tough Enough, except for these are people who are trying to be WWE superstars, as opposed to Cameron from the Funkadactyls, who had really never watched professional wrestling in her life. And what was the match that she said was like the best match she ever saw, and it was like a crap match from like 3 months before the show had started, and Austin looked at her and like, "That's her favorite match."
What?
That's her favorite match.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
But so with Bianca's background, you know, is being an NCAA star, you know, Montez just having charisma up the wazoo, being an athlete. I think they're great. They're going to be a great fit for this show. We'll see what happens as far as this. It's a good way, I guess, to introduce some of these people and their backgrounds to the wrestling audience, and hopefully at least be the start of building towards something big in the future.
Yeah, I agree. And this is two tremendous people to learn from, too.
Yeah.
Just because, like you said, Bianca has that background where she was an athlete in college. She was actually a track star at the University of Tennessee. I remember when NXT had the almost like the combine that they do it for the NFL. And they had all the NXT stars doing it. And she was at the top of every single list. They're like, Bianca Belair has this record. Bianca has this record. Bianca has this record. I'm like, damn, she must be some kind of athlete or something.
Right.
I had a greater, honest to goodness though, Jay, I had a greater appreciation for her as a wrestler and as a performer after I saw her and all the accolades that she had when she was in the combine stuff. And I just enjoyed her character work. And speaking of Bianca, she did return this past week on SmackDown.
Yeah.
She came to the aid of Charlotte after Charlotte's match against Io Sky for the SmackDown, or I'm sorry, for the WWE Women's Championship. Thank God we didn't get Charlotte's 15th reign, but to help even the odds, Bianca did return. What are your thoughts about Bianca also returning to WWE?
You know, Bianca is one of those performers, like, she's special, and if you see her all the time, I think you take it for granted how good she is and what a big part of the show she is and can be. It's great having Bianca back. I mean, her presence and all that just kind of radiates through the screen. On top of the fact that she is just like athletically gifted beyond anybody else in the company.
On top of the
I'm
fact that
happy
she
to see her back. The only thing I guess I would say I'm disappointed in, I wish she came back as a heel.
Me too. It's still early. I know that they like using her as the female John Cena because she's a great role model to young girls who are trying to get into the wrestling business.
Yeah.
But she was a damn good heel down in NXT, and I'd like to see her at least get a real good shot at being one on the main roster.
She's so young. She'll go full heel at some point again. Again. I mean, that would be my only minor disappointment, but Bianca Belair on the television is better than no Bianca Belair. But she had been on such a run for the last couple of years. You know what? Everybody needs time off. It's one thing I've been talking about basically since we started this podcast. Even the top level stars, I think they should have this thing where they rotate them so they could get, whether it's every 6 months or every 4 months, at least a few weeks to kind of rejuvenate, resuscitate themselves, because you don't want to wear them out. They're on the road so much. They beat the hell out of their bodies. If you want to have them long term, you could build up more stars in the interim by not having somebody suck up all of the main event spot.
Honestly, I don't. I mean, I know when they do like the European tours, they do a lot of traveling and all that stuff. But I think as of right now, what they're doing is kind of. I think they're doing less house shows because I think they only travel Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday now, and they get Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which is 3 days off. And I know they're not using everybody for all the house shows or whatever they're doing, but they're not going on the road as much. But I agree. I think even if like every so often you want to take like a week or two off, I think her to run that she was on, because she was on TV every single week. If she wanted to take a couple weeks off to kind of just let your body heal itself for a little bit and not, go through the rigors of being in the ring and on the road all the time. But I think that booking it kind of like, remember when we were kids and we would go to the house shows and it was like you're either going to get Hulk Hogan or the Ultimate Warrior. Maybe that's what they should do. They don't need to do 2 towns in one night with 2 different crews. Maybe one night you do, you get Roman Reigns. I mean, maybe not Roman Reigns, but you get Seth Rollins or, you get Cody Rhodes.
And I think that's part of what the brand split's supposed to be is like, instead of A and B, you get SmackDown and Raw.
Right. But I just think that with them traveling less, I think that it takes less of a toll on them. I know they're a little bit more lenient because like AJ Styles got moved to Raw not too long ago. I know he's not SmackDown again, but he asked to get moved to Raw so he could watch his son play football on Fridays. I think WWE is a little bit more, lenient on that. And I think that with where the roster is, you can actually give, like what you were saying, give these guys breaks here and there and let somebody else has their spot. Now, if somebody wants to say, no, I'm good, I can keep going. Like if Austin Theory wants to keep going, then go ahead.
Right.
You know, you're trying to earn a spot. You're trying to prove to them that you are the guy that they can depend on. But, you know, you could also bring up some of these guys like Braun Breaker and give them a chance to get exposed to some of these house show crowds instead of just being on NXT. But I'm glad to go back to the Bianca. I am very glad that she's back. I've always enjoyed her work. I think she's spectacular. I agree with you. I would have liked to have seen her come back as a heel and join forces with the Hurt Profits.
And that's what Chris Brown said in chat. It's a matter of time before Bianca joins Montez and Lashley and Dawkins.
Yeah.
Speaking of women's championships, Bianca Belair lost her NXT Women's Championship
Becky Lynch
on Tuesday, and it was a big assist from Baron Corbin, giving the end of days to Becky Lynch. You know, we don't see a lot of the man-on-woman violence these days in WWE. What do you think about this way of getting the title off the man?
Hold on a second. Did Baron Corbin really hit her with another end of days again to cost her the title?
Apparently, people have threatened to stab Baron Corbin.
That's the second time he's did it to Becky. I gotta stop going to bed before the main event. I swear. I'm gonna have to watch that now. That is true. I didn't know that was the case. I know that she lost the title to Valkyrie. And I know that, you know, they have the Irish connection. Wow. Okay, Baron Corbin. I see you.
So as much as I appreciate how they did that and trying to keep Becky as being, you know, the man, a lot of this feels like WWE's like, all right, we're going to pump up the ratings by having these main roster stalwarts make everything feel like a bigger deal, going to make our ratings higher. But in general, it feels like the booking is all about trying to get a bigger deal out of whoever the next home is for NXT, as opposed to making the long-term future of the NXT brand the main component here. It's great having Becky down there. She does raise the level of awareness to the product. But I mean, you should, to an extent, build the brand with the people who are there.
I understand what you're saying and where you're coming from on this. Her and Tiffany Stratton, she brought out a side of Tiffany Stratton that a lot of people had not seen yet. That was Tiffany Stratton's best performance when her and Becky had that gruesome match a while back for the title. Tiffany Stratton needed that extra kind of like push, and I think working with Becky had benefited her a lot more than people realize. She said she wasn't ready for the main roster. She said, like, if they asked me, I would have said no because I'm not ready yet. She's getting there. She's starting to figure it out, and working with Becky did a lot of good for her, and I think having those veterans down there, it kind of helps some of these new kids that they're actually thinking, you know, they're going to move on to the next level. I mean, we saw it with Braun Breaker. He was in the ring with John Cena and The Undertaker and Paul Heyman. Same thing with Carmelo Hayes. Clearly, that shows that they have a lot of faith in them and and the future is very bright in WWE because both of those guys are under the age of 30. Right. I don't even think Tiffany Stratton's even 25 yet. Thea Hale, who's with Chase U. By the way, I was shocked when they won the tag team titles from the family. I cannot believe Tony D'Angelo, my second cousin from another aunt, lost the
Yeah.
tag team titles with Stacks, whatever Stacks' real name is. Lorenzo Stacks. Shocked by that. And I think that was the only like men's match that was even on the card. They had 5 women's matches on NXT's Halloween Havoc Night 1. It was a great show. But I agree with you. Like some of the times they do with these booking decisions, Becky could have went down there. She didn't need to win the NXT title.
Right.
She could have worked with Tiffany Stratton and she still would have gotten her job done the way she was supposed to. You know, we saw it with Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews went back down there and started working with a lot of these younger guys. The only guy
I don't mind guys like Cruz and Corbin who go down there and like they're there for like a long-term thing to help elevate the people because they've learned a lot of things from the main roster and they're going to elevate that talent to a different level where, again, it feels like they'll send Becky down there for a cup of coffee to pop a number. Yeah, she helps raise some awareness, but in general, I don't feel it helps necessarily the long-term growth. I think what you're saying is certainly valid. That like it helps push the talent down there up another level or two, but you know, can they maintain it without having Becky down there consistently?
Just remember when they were still competing with Dynamite every single Wednesday before they got moved to Tuesday. One of the few weeks that NXT beat AEW Dynamite was the night Becky was on the show.
Right.
She did it a little bit more. I mean, that was there strictly just because they were competing. I think she did a little bit more because she was down there a little bit more to help elevate it and help elevate Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah.
But I think that they're doing a great job down at NXT. I enjoy NXT every single week. I really do. It is getting better and better. The whole, like, I know we've been talking about the Bloodline, and I know we've been talking about the Spooky Pals, and there's Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio, a Monday Night Raw wrestler, is the NXT North American champion. But you have to send him down there because he's your biggest heel in all of WWE. And
that one makes more sense to me than the other ones.
Because he was supposed to be there in the first place.
Right.
Because he wrestles like he should be at NXT.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, him being down at NXT is going to do better because he is getting less and less awful in the ring.
Right. Well, ever since he stopped trying to basically copy his dad's moveset, he's much better.
His frog splash isn't terrible either.
Right. Well, I mean, he got that from his real father.
Yes, he did. But like,
during the Dominic on a pole match.
Like, I know that the Spooky Pals and the Bloodline has been a great story, but now they got a really good one down in NXT. Who the hell attacked Trick Williams before last week? Was it Jeff Jarrett just tweeted? I just got the notification. Jeff Jarrett just tweeted about Impact no longer being Impact and back to being TNA.
Yeah.
Oh, Lordy. But, I mean, they have some great storytelling down there. They have a bunch of really good kids down there wrestling. I really do think that the future of WWE is very bright, and you don't have to look further than Carmelo Hayes. Trick Williams is going to be a star for them, too. I don't want anybody to like think that he's been overlooked. Dragunov's going to be a star for them. Braun Breaker's going to be a star for them. Tiffany Stratton's going to be a star for them. I mean, Roxy. I don't know what happened to Cora Jade. I'm surprised she hasn't come back yet, but she's going to be a star for them. WWE's future is in a very good spot, even if they don't bring in MJF.
If they don't have Gunther go to WrestleMania and win the heavyweight championship, what would you say to him and Dragunov in Berlin?
Oh, yeah, please. That was my match of the year that they had their NXT UK championship match.
And they had a couple of matches. I would not be against having a call-up of Dragunov around WrestleMania season, and you build him up enough to feel like a threat. I also wouldn't be against having, again, if Gunther is still the champion, having Chad Gable go against him in Germany.
Dragunov and Gunther to me is like if we got the New Day and the Usos to wrestle in the tag team match. I could watch those two teams wrestle each other every single night. I could probably break the record of the most nights I've watched something in a row, which was Super Troopers, I think 47 nights in a row. But
Okay.
I could probably watch the New Day and the Usos fight 50 days in a row, just like I could watch Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens fight 50 days in a row, just like I could watch Dragunov and Gunther wrestle 50 days in a row. You don't have to convince me. You don't have to twist my arm. I would be on board with Dragunov and Gunther. I would love to see Dragunov and Gabe. Gunther has established himself as the greatest intercontinental champion of all time. He has done something with that title that nobody in AEW was able to do with the TNT title outside of Christian Cage. He has made that championship as important as it is. That is a championship that is desired. That is a championship that people want to win. That is a 500-day champion as Intercontinental Champion. Did you ever, after the way they've been booking that title for the last almost 20 years, Jay, did you ever think that we would have a champion the way that we have Gunther right now?
No, I mean, the closest we came would be when there was Dolph and Miz, and when Miz had that flip-out session on Talking Smack.
See, I didn't think you were going to go that route. I thought you were going to talk about when Santino had the honkometer.
I mean, the honkometer was something to behold. Tea Time with Santino has yet to been – they have not topped Tea Time with Santino since. The only thing I think that might top Tea Time with Santino is Vince McMahon getting hit with the bedpan as far as greatest Raw moment.
See, I got parties over, Grandpa.
I mean, there's that, and I think it was on SmackDown, but Booker T and Stone Cold Steve Austin in the supermarket.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Samoa Joe selling Girl Scout cookies.
Oh, when they had Brock Lesnar first returned and he was showing up like once every like 5 or 6 years, 5 or 6 times a year, I should say. And it was like, oh wow, they have to pay him like $3 million to show up, and he doesn't have to, he doesn't have to wrestle on Raw. And he showed up and beat up the 3MB, and he F5'd Heath Slater on the guardrail twice. That was another great Raw moment. The Zamboni, the beer truck, the milk truck. When they sacrificed Steve Austin.
Dr. Shelby.
Greg the Bunny.
Yeah.
Bobby Heenan getting thrown out of the Manhattan Center.
Yes.
The 1-2-3 Kid beating Razor Ramon.
Yes.
Oh, that is some vintage Monday Night Raw.
Speaking of vintage, The Undertaker is starting a podcast. I don't think it's going to be better than ours. He'll probably have more stories than ours. All that being said, if he has guests, Teddy Long should be the first one.
No, it should be Steve Austin. I feel about with Undertaker and Steve Austin talking like they did on the Broken Skull session. That's my Usos and New Day. I could listen to Steve Austin and the Undertaker talk. And same thing with Mick Foley. Or Mick Foley would actually be a great guest for the first episode of the Undertaker's podcast. And just have Foley and the Taker talk. Oh yeah. I'd watch that.
Yeah.
We better get Chris Jericho too. So he could talk about how he beat Steve Austin and The Rock in the same night to become first ever undisputed WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
Right.
The night he became the GOAT of GOATs who's goated more than the GOATs have ever goated in the history of GOATdom. Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
Who's funding his statue in my Rushmore.
All right.
Just kidding.
What else you got, Brainless One?
A couple of things. Number one, apparently Roman Reigns isn't going to be at Survivor Series.
Sad.
If that's the case, and they do, are they going to do War Games?
I mean, I think they've already announced War Games. They could still do War Games without Roman. There are plenty of participants between the Spooky Pals and the Bloodline.
Yeah.
That they could come up with enough people to make it happen. And, I mean, without a doubt, Stone Cold Lead Pipe Lock. Cody's dad came up with War Games. Cody's going to be in a War Games match.
Yes, he is. And he's going to be standing tall at the end of War Games as LA Knight hits blunt force trauma on Jimmy Uso for the win.
Yeah?
Yeah? But my question to you is, Jay, is the reason that Roman Reigns is not going to be at Survivor Series because he doesn't want to be in War Games? Or is it because of the fact that there's been rumors that they might do, especially with the way that they've been kind of booking Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce the last couple of weeks since they both got named as the heads of, general managers of Raw and SmackDown, respectively. Do you think it's possible that he's skipping Survivor Series because he's afraid to wrestle Seth Rollins?
Maybe.
Because Rollins?
He did not defeat Seth Rollins when they wrestled last in a singles match. Seth Franklin Rollins.
See, and honestly, Jay, that's part of the reason why I really just want to see the title get dropped from Roman, because everybody's big issue was when Brock Lesnar came back. It wasn't mine because I said that I would have put the title on Brock and he would have held it until he was ready to retire. He would have broke Bruno's record if I was booking in WWE because nobody's beating Brock Lesnar. I'm sorry, not happening. But part of the reason I'm tired of Roman as the champion is he's never there to defend the title. And I think that you're relying on poor Seth Rollins to be the champion to defend the title anytime, any place, anywhere, every single week, and twice on Saturday. And you're just beating this poor dude because it's like he's been champion since May and he's already had more title defenses than Roman. Probably since Roman won the title in 2020. Like, why? Why does he need to be champion if he's not going to be there? I want to see champions on both shows. I don't want to just see Roman show up on the title whenever the hell he wants. The only good thing that happens when Roman shows up is Paul Heyman's hair changes color. He's like a troll doll. And I'm just like, this is the whole thing. You're going to be in Chicago. You're going to be in Chicago, and you're not going to have your Universal Champion.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Another point I wanted to make, since we were talking about Redacted, and we were talking about the wrestling company that will no longer be known as Impact, but as TNA, one free agent from there, one Sami Callihan, who is also a former WWE or NXT superstar, is potentially going to be All Elite. What are your thoughts of Sami Callihan jumping ship from Impact/TNA to join Nose Candy Khan in AEW?
Well, if you're talking about the size of the wrestling company you're going from to two, clearly AEW is a bigger company. And if you have that much belief in yourself and your ability to get yourself over, that means you're going to be making more money. And if you're a professional wrestler, you're putting your body on the line every week. The more money you could get, better for you. I'd say good for him. We'll see how it goes. And I just don't know. It depends on what Tony Khan Steeler gives him that week.
If they put him in the Blackpool Combat Club, it's the only thing they can do because anything else they do with Sami Callihan is a fail.
They could end up Well, let's find out when they're going to either do Dynamite, Collision, or Rampage in his hometown. And if Christian doesn't have the TNT title at that moment, they'll just give it to him.
There you go.
And then he could be the TNT champion for a cup of coffee before they get to the next person's hometown.
But hold on. He needs to beat 3 local competitors, and then they have to bring back Marco Stunt before he gets a TNT title match.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Tony Khan, baby. I know that once upon a time, Sami Callihan and Jon Moxley were a tag team in the independent scene. I might feel like I do now about Jon Moxley because he blades all the time and he can't stay healthy because his opponents drop him on his head twice in the same match. But I might actually tune in for 4 or 5 minutes if it's Sami Callihan and Jon Moxley just beating the shit out of QT Marshall.
Big beefy guys beating the shit out of each other.
Big beefy guys beating the shit out of each other. My favorite thing in wrestling.
Your least favorite thing in wrestling. Well, one of your least favorite things in wrestling.
I was going to say, that's a bunch of different avenues you can go there, Cousin Jay.
We're going to go to the Bella Twins route.
Oh, God. There you go. Yep. That's not wrong.
Bella Twins apparently are going to be a part of an Amazon Prime series where it's called Twin Love, where they're going to be the host of a show where they have twins dating twins. It sounds like it might be one of the worst ideas out there. I'm not going to say it's like Temptation Island bad, but why?
The worst. I have zero intention. I'd rather no. That's like watching the Jersey Shore anytime those two are on the TV. They were actually talking about it because I know that Nikki Bella was upset because she didn't understand why WWE didn't offer her and her sister to continue being the Bellas so that they could continue making money because WWE is not going to make money off of the Bellas anymore if they're not there. So they should have just let them have the name. When she didn't even approach them to make the deal with them, even if it meant that they had to pay, WWE got a little bit of whatever for whatever they did. WWE should have just let them be the Bella. This is why they didn't want them to be the Bella Twins outside of this. This show sounds horrible. And then they're going to end up in AEW.
John Cena, no matter what he does, WWE gets like 10%.
Yep.
Because John Cena's like, you know what? Yeah, my name was built in WWE. I'm okay with like the fact that they trademarked my natural name. Because guess what? I wouldn't be where I am without them. Correct. I'm okay with giving them 10%. I mean, I may be at home and have 5,000 rules for my wife, my dog, my cat, and my house guests. But I'm getting paid a crap ton of money from WWE, and I'm okay with giving away 10%.
He's still one of like the top. Yeah, I know he's in the top 5. He might be in the top 3 highest paid wrestlers in WWE. Brock Lesnar's still numero uno, but he might be. I think Cena might be 3, right behind Roman.
Right.
And what have the Bella Twins actually done? All I could think about was I remember Brie Bella for the fact that she literally kicked Liv Morgan in the face and almost ended that poor girl's career. And every time Nikki Bella said "my man" during that build-up for the John Cena and the Miz, where they teamed up with their significant others, I wanted to take an ice pick and stab myself in the eardrum. Constantly.
With the fake proposal?
God, the proposal, the "my man" was just like so cringe. I wanted to puke. Barf. puke,
He's
whatever.
gonna puke.
He's
He's
gonna
gonna
puke.
puke.
I couldn't do it. It was bad. There was nothing that they have done that has made me like. I don't miss the Bella Twins, just like I don't miss Sasha Banks, just like I don't miss Naomi. You know what? Just like I don't miss Lacey Evans.
Chris Brown said, "The fuck." Who asked Amazon for Amazon Prime series with those two flakes?
Fremont!
Fremont!
Always makes me think of the Solid Monster saying that the ultimate hell would be getting a CAT scan and getting stuck in the machine for 2 hours with Bree mode playing and constant on replay.
While watching a match between El Gigante and Great
Nails.
Khali.
And the great, oh God. I still can't believe he responded to me. Yeah?
Yeah? All right, outside of Solo and Cena, that sounds like it's happening at Crown Jewel. We're also getting Damian Priest versus Cody Rhodes, which actually I think is perfectly good for both of them. You know, Cody needs to keep the momentum he's got without like feeling like he's doing lesser than he was. And Damian Priest is in there with a dude who I believe is higher than him on the card. Not I believe he is higher than him on the card.
There's only 2 people on the card higher than Cody Rhodes. Roman Reigns and L.A. Knight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me talk to you. No, I think this is great because I think this is going to be a good matchup. It definitely makes a bigger name for Damian Priest. Even if he loses to Cody Rhodes, you're getting in the ring with the #1 babyface in all of WWE. They're going to have a great match. I think they're going to work very well together. And just remember, a lot of times, right before the Money in the Bank, cash-in happens, the Money in the Bank holder typically goes on a monster losing streak for some weird reason. Because nothing says we need a future...
Hey, to be fair, that's when Vince was booking. We are allegedly in a different regime where things make a bit more sense. All that being said, Tim said he believes Cody wins with the briefcase on the line, and that maybe is how Cody gets his WrestleMania opportunity.
I thought that was going to be the route they were going to go. They could actually put the briefcase on the line and that. I'm still convinced that the contract's not even in the briefcase. I know there's probably about a 2% chance, but I'm still convinced that there's going to be fuckery with the Money in the Bank this year.
Okay.
Hell, that could be the way that they do it. He puts the briefcase on the line, Cody wins the briefcase, and then they're like, oh, here's your green one, and it actually has the contract in it. Ha ha ha, Cody Rhodes, we got you good. Fooled
it's
you.
Funny because it's true.
Fooled you.
All right. What else you got, Brainless One?
Well, Cousin Jay, the only thing that I have left on my list besides Good, Bad, and Brainless is, you know what? I think now would be the time to announce our next inductee in the 2023 Hall of Fame class.
All right.
Now,
I like it.
With the F. Marks Hall of Fame, we look for somebody that goes in that has been influential in professional wrestling, gets talked about a significant amount on this podcast, and is well-deserving of being in a Hall of Fame. They could be in the WWE Hall of Fame or a Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, or they could be cooler than the other side of the pillow.
Yeah.
But we got somebody who hits all 3 check marks. And I even said to you before the podcast, I'm even surprised that this individual hasn't even gone in yet, because of the fact that we do mention him significantly, including today. And that is the newest inductee in the F. Marks Hall of Fame of class of 2023 is none other than the single greatest heel in professional wrestling history, the Big Boss Man. The man who once dragged the Big Show's dad's casket from the back of the Blues Brothers car, fed Al Snow Pepper, his dog, and that led to a match that was created by the Brain, known as Shitstain. But he is also the man, as a face, who once arrested a Canadian mounted police officer.
Yes, and put him into jail.
You can't do this to me! You can't do this to me! I love that moment. But the Big Boss Man, well deserving of the F&M Bucks Hall of Fame induction. Now, the only other thing I have left is my top 10 list for this week.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I had a plethora of options. I had one question. Actually, I had a couple of questions on this. Yeah. Because I realized that I lived the gimmick better than anybody else. I needed to understand Brainless logic. I put top 10 Cena booking. And for whatever reason, when I was putting the list, the first thing I thought of was Cena versus the Nexus at SummerSlam 2010. Was it the top 10 Cena booking decisions that pissed me off or were bad or stupid or something like that?
That was the general idea.
Okay. Top 10 Cena stupid bookings. Okay, I'll put that in there. And then it's top 10 celebrity Hall of Famers. And then the note I have next to it is Jeff's dad.
Yes.
Which
means crappy ones?
I thought it was either the top 10 celebrities I think should be in it, or if it was the top 10 celebrities that should not be in it.
Although I don't even think we've gotten to 10 celebrities who are in it at this point.
It's very true. I think it's 10 celebrities that are deserving that are not in. Maybe I just put Jeff's dad because it's Hall of Fame. So I had that. I could have done the top 10 countries I have beef with. But no. This one was too good to pass up this week.
Okay.
Do you want to take a guess who the list has to do with?
Christian Cage?
Close. They kind of work together.
Dino Man?
No. Close. He was also part of WWE Developmental at one point. I'll give you a hint, and I'm only going to give you one. And if you don't get it, I'm sorry. But just like Andre the Giant, he is the only wrestler in the history of professional wrestling to have gained weight in the middle of a wrestling match.
Right. Cassius Ohno.
I came up with a list of the top 10 matches for Chris Hero / Cassius Ohno now that he has announced his return to the wrestling ring.
Yeah. This is going to be great.
Oh, this is good. I was cracking up on this one. Number 10, the Man Scout. Now, before I do this, I'm setting the over-under on pole matches to 3.5. Are you hammering the over or are you keeping the under?
I'm taking the over.
Taking the over. I think that's a safe bet. Number 10, the Man Scout in a s'mores on a pole match. You're gonna love this one, Cousin Jay. Number 9, I had to Google to make sure this person was still alive. PN News. I want to see PN News versus Chris Hero in a scaffolding match.
So do I. So does Tim. I bet my brother would even want to watch that.
Oh, I'm sure of it too. Scotty and I could do a live watch of it as it's happening too, live on the podcast. In fact, if they ever do Cassius Ohno versus PN News in a scaffolding match, you could get. I'm sure Scotty would be on board. Him and I can do a live stream of watching the podcast live or watching that match live on the podcast.
As both of them fall through the ring.
As both of them fall through the ring. You son of a bitch, Cousin Jay. I may never forget.
But by the way, that's kind of what happened with Mick Foley when he went against Triple H in the Hell in the Cell match.
It's kind of what happened
in 2000.
That's kind of what happened to Taz when he had that match with Bam Bam Bigelow too in ECW.
Yeah. He stole it from PN News. By the way, PN News was an ECW, so I wouldn't
Yo,
doubt
baby, yo, baby, yo. Yo, baby, yo, baby, yo. Yo, baby, yo, baby, yo. Number 8, Kazarni. Kazarni and Cassius Ohno in a fried dough on a pole match. Number 7, Nick Camaretto. The hairy dude from AEW. But I don't just want Nick Camaretto in this match. No. I want Nick Camaretto dressed up as a Sasquatch and him and Cassius Ohno in a beef jerky on a pole match. Number 6, Grimace. Number 6, Grimace. The purple creature from the McDonald's people. The same one that had his birthday with that god-awful shake that they were offering. No, I don't want Grimace and a cheeseburger on a pole match. I want Grimace and Cassius Ohno with a Ronald McDonald on a forklift match.
And not against the Hamburglar and the hamburger on a pole match?
No.
All right.
Number
undercard.
Number 5, Duke the Dumpster Drosy. And I want to see them in a street fight. Because for crying out loud, who wouldn't want to watch Cassius Ohno fight a garbage man in a street fight?
They're going to dumpster dive, man. It's going to be like in back of the Golden Corral. And like...
Number 4, I want to see him fight Yoshihiko, also known as the blow-up doll that Kenny and his boyfriend Ibushi have wrestled in a wrestling match. I don't have any kind of special stipulation. I just want to see Yoshihiko and Cassius Ohno with 7 consecutive Canadian destroyers. If Yoshihiko hits Cassius Ohno with 7 consecutive Canadian destroyers, say that 5 times fast, I will never, ever, ever utter a negative word about Cassius Ohno again on this podcast. He's not making it to 2. He's not making it to 1.
Chris Brown asked, is Vince Russo booking these pole matches?
Number 3, The Big Show. Remember I told you, Jay, I want to see The Big Show, but not just The Big Show. I want to see The Big Show dressed up like Captain Insano, and I want to see him and Cassius Ohno in a stairs match. I'm gonna get you on this one too. Number 2, Luigi Primo. I want to see Luigi Primo and Cassius Ohno in a pizza on a pole match.
It's a me, Luigi.
It's an amazing the pizza pie.
When my brother sent me a video of Luigi Primo, like a year and a half ago, he's like, have you ever seen this guy? I'm like, oh yeah. I love Luigi Primo. The fact that he and Cassius Ohno would be on a pizza on a pole match is yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I laughed so hard the back of my head hurts. So Cousin Jay, that was 2 through 10. Do you care to venture a guess of what numero uno for the top 10 matches for Cassius Ohno upon his wrestling return? Who do I want to see him wrestle?
I mean, I think it should be the Dozer.
I'll be honest, I tried doing this without as many active WWE guys because I know it's not going to happen unless, Triple H brings him back and everything. And I think he's going to stick with AEW because I heard that Tony Khan has a better spread in catering.
Right. That's true.
But the one person I want to see Cassius Ohno wrestle now that he is back in wrestling, is none other than Matt Riddle. And not just any match. I want to see the exact same rematch from Matt Riddle's debut in NXT, where Cassius Ohno gets stuck between the bottom rope and the mat, but not get out himself. He needs to get lathered up in butter, and they shove him through the ropes before Matt Riddle knees him in the face. 1, 2, 3.
Bro.
That was my top 10. I told you, Jay, I was very proud of that one.
You should be.
I realized how many times I Russo'd myself doing this.
Yes.
And I did hit the over. It was like 4 or 5. I think half the matches were on a pole.
Yes.
And the other ended a double DQ.
Wait. When you're saying double DQ, are you talking about getting like 2 hot dogs at one of those Dairy Queens with brassiere?
Yes. I just booked an entire card like Vince Russo. Half the matches are on a pole, and the other half ended double disqualification.
Or on a forklift.
And one bra and panties match. Oh, that was such good shit. Whoo!
Yeah.
I did. Hey, by the way, I did find the list.
A through Z.
The A through Z, not the list of Jericho, the A through Z. I will post it after the podcast. The many names of Cassius Ohno.
Okay.
Including the Mauler of Meatloaf.
Yes.
The Ambusher of Arby's.
That's fantastic.
That's all I got, Cousin Jay. You got anything else?
Not really. I think we're ready for the good, the bad, and the brainless.
I think you are 100% accurate on that, good sir. So,
yeah.
Cousin Jay, yeah? What do you got for your good this week?
This man is running away with superstar of the year for me, Christian Cage.
Wow.
Christian Cage absolutely eviscerating Sting, eviscerating Ric Flair, and anybody in his path. He was so good. He made Ric Flair, who's seen everything and anything since he had his battle with Kane after Bobby Fish did. Even he was laughing at the line that Christian hit him with. He couldn't even hold it in. That's how good Christian is right now, is being a dastardly heel. I'm going with Christian.
Honestly, I really do want to give him my superstar of the year. He's not even
my super. He deserves his damn flowers. He deserves his flowers.
I'm not arguing that. He's not even my superstar of the year in AEW, unfortunately. And that guy might not even get my superstar of the year either. But that's for, a couple months down the road. And like KJ said, anything's possible. Christian Cage could still win my superstar of the year, just like LA Knight could still win my superstar of the year.
If he ends up at a funeral where he ends up dragging a casket or something of the like.
Oh, it's he's winning every award. He's going to somehow win wettest hair. My good this week goes to the co-hosts of Halloween Havoc Night 1, and that is Shotzi Blackheart and Scarlett Bordeaux. I think it's Bordeaux. I hope it's not like Parker.
We'll go with that.
I have enjoyed, of all the old WCW themed pay-per-views that have become like this NXT takeover / thing where they're doing 2 nights and stuff like that. They have done an excellent job with Halloween Havoc. They have booked the hell out of that show or those shows every single year since they reacquired that name from WCW. Shotzi Blackheart and Scarlett absolutely killed it as the hosts. Between the costumes, the exchanges they were having with everybody, they added to the presentation of NXT's TakeOver Halloween Havoc thing that they did on Tuesday. And I have to give them kudos where kudos is due, especially because Shotzi doesn't get a lot of positive things said about her from me. So I wanted to give her and Scarlett my good for this week because they were excellent. I was thoroughly entertained by them.
All right.
What do you got for your bad?
As much as I have an appreciation and understanding for bringing main roster superstars down to NXT, I think they've been doing a little bit too much of the hit it and quit it with them, where they bring them down for a couple weeks to pop a number only for them to return to the homeland and leave NXT behind. Yes, they may help a bit with the younger members of the roster, but in general, to me, like it feels like a bit of a cheat, almost like when they bring somebody in specifically for WrestleMania and WrestleMania only. Hey, I understand they're trying to build up NXT again. Oh, by the way, thanks, Vince, for destroying what was already a functioning brand. All that being said, I'm going with the fact that, like, you bring Becky down for her to win the title, to lose the title. I think they could have done more with that. And like, oh yeah, we'll make it a couple weeks storyline, and they booking wise, okay, they made it so like, oh, she took the end of days, so okay, booking wise we understand it more, but like, come on, like, have it be more than a cup of coffee return, like, yay. I don't like the fact that they've been doing that to kind of artificially inflate what they are.
Okay. I can't argue with that. I'm going with Ric Flair for my bad.
Okay.
We do not need to see 74-year-old, nearly died many times Ric Flair on television, because we already know that the only reason he's in AEW is because he knows he's going to get paid. And Tony Khan knows Candy Khan is going to pay Ric Flair a shit ton of money until March of next year to keep showing up. Question I do have about Ric Flair, though, before we get to the Brainless: does Ric Flair turn on Sting before his contract's up?
Yes.
Okay. I think so, too.
He's the dirtiest player in the game.
What do you got for your Brainless?
Amazon. Why? 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 Amazon gets my Brainless for this week for having a bad idea for a bad show. I actually don't have much against Brie Bella. Nikki Bella bothers me a little bit. All that being said, bad show, bad idea, and not the greatest former professional wrestlers. Nobody needs to be subjected to that. Thank you.
Well put, sir. Well put. You might as well just start playing Brass Bonanza right now, because I got a hat.
Are the Hartford Whalers coming back?
We have a hat trick. Tony Khan has become the first person in the history of this podcast to get my Brainless 3 weeks in a row. All for different reasons, too.
Cocaine?
he gets it this week because he's been touting this announcement that he has this big surprise for Sting as a retirement gift for Sting when he retires next year at the Revolution pay-per-view. And he gives him 74-year-old Ric Flair. This was after Tony Khan went out there and whined and cried because WWE had John Cena, Paul Heyman, Asuka, and The Undertaker all on NXT the Tuesday that they had Dynamite moved to that show because of the MLB playoffs. He goes out and gets Ric Flair. Ric Flair, who, other than maybe Nick Gage and Vince McMahon, has come out looking the worst of anybody from the dark side of the rings. Ric Flair, who looked like an actual corpse as he laid on the apron outside of the ring during his last match. Ric Flair, who is a crybaby, who's just in it for the money, is now all elite. Why? And I feel like we've had a conversation many episodes ago where we said that Ric Flair wasn't going to be there because it would be a stupid reason for him to go to AEW. Tony Khan's not that stupid to bring in Ric Flair, and here we are. He is that stupid. And I'm convinced that he's going to wrestle Sting.
You might not be wrong. It might be like a 6-man tag, 8-man tag, what? 10-man tag, what? 12-man tag, what?
If WWE takes the woo out of the introduction of all of their television shows, like they've done before, does Ric Flair have a leg to stand on about being upset about it?
He never had a leg to stand on.
Thank you. He cried when he got taken out, his woo got taken out of the introduction. He's not WWE. I'm sorry. And they should take his woo out again now that he is gone and chase the money that Tony Khan is offering him.
Well, I mean, they took Edge out of it.
Yes, but Edge, it's different with Edge. Edge can actually go out and have a wrestling match. Ric Flair is 74 years old, and he's avoided death like a half a dozen times. If there was a God, Ric Flair would have been dead 20 years ago, Jay.
Wait,
Ric Flair's still in AEW?
he's still alive?
Wait. Anyway, if you like what you've seen, whether you are a first-time fan or a continuous follower, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on the Twitter X, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F in Marks. If you like and follow, subscribe to us. We will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra, and make sure you hit the notification so that when we go live, whether it's on the YouTube or on the Facebook, that you will be notified that we are live so you can join in and talk about our favorite sport that we all love to hate, professional wrestling. We're also on Spotify, so make sure you give us a subscribe over there so you can take us on the road wherever you go, up and down the road, wherever you go. We are the F and Marks, and damn it, we like it.
darn Skippy.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that's it.
I think it is. I think
we absolutely hit everything that could possibly be talked about in the span of a show for this week. Nothing else to talk about, is there? Nothing else. Absolutely nothing else to talk about.
there is. Uno mas.
Yeah?
You see this gentleman right here, Cousin Jay?
Do you mean this gentleman?
That gentleman right there, this gentleman right here. Did you know that this man is an OG effing Marks Hall of Famer?
Yeah?
Did you also know that this man is well above the Coco Beware line?
I am aware of that. He won a championship in WWE. Won
And
multiple championships.
And also, did you know that on today, October 27th of 2023, the 19-year anniversary of when the Red Sox ended the 86-year curse, effing Marks Hall of Famer Curtis Axel, for 3,197 days, is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for episode 334 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the FM Marks,
I'm Jay. He is.
I am the Brainless one. Make sure you mark out
with your Glock out. See everyone. Have a good week, and we will catch up with you later.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Yeah.